With the 2024 release of the long-awaited Beetlejuice, the franchise is officially 36 years old, with the legacy sequel debuting at $111 million at the box office, second only to Alice in Wonderland. It's the biggest opening in Tim Burton's career. The franchise has been officially revived for the new millennium. But when and how did it all begin? Today on Movie Recap Pro, let's dive into the history of everyone's favorite bioexorcist. Screenwriters Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson worked together on the first script for Beetlejuice back in the mid-80s. Typical of McDowell's work, the original Beetlejuice was much darker than what we eventually got. The mischievous trickster demon himself was a winged nightmare who wanted to murder the Deets. The car crash that kills the couple is a bloodbath, and Beetlejuice wants to sleep with, rather than marry, the teen goth Lydia. In 1986, McDowell and Wilson showed their script to then-up-and-coming filmmaker Tim Burton, who directed the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes that both writers had previously worked on. With Burton's involvement, he directed the blockbuster Pee-wee's Big Adventure just a year prior. The Geffen Film Company and Warner Brothers picked up Beetlejuice without hesitation. However, there were some rewrites. Can you be scary? What do you think of this? Do you like it? Dr. Warren Scarron was the screenwriter who reworked the scripts for Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Batman, and Beetlejuice. It was he who greatly shifted the film's tone from horror to comedy. Apart from toning down the titular nightmare into the bioexorcist we know and love, Scarron also further fleshed out the bureaucratic afterlife. Several revisions later, the script was done. Larry Wilson retained creator credits for Beetlejuice, but the intensive changes meant that only Michael McDowell and Warren Scarron were credited for the final screenplay, which McDowell proudly calls a feel-good movie about death. While the writers ironed out the details, Tim Burton and the studio initially clashed when it came to casting Beetlejuice himself. What's the weirdest reaction you've ever gotten from a studio executive? Burton recalled, "I wanted Sammy Davis Jr. to play Beetlejuice." The Geffen Film Company didn't like Burton's first choice for Beetlejuice, who was Sammy Davis Jr. instead. David Geffen had his eyes on then-budding 35-year-old comedic actor Michael Keaton, who in the mid-1980s was only really known for being the breakout star of Night Shift and the blockbuster Mr. Mom. Keaton nearly turned down the role, while Burton was highly skeptical of the actor's involvement. But in the end, it was a match made in the afterlife. According to Tim Burton, he frequently visited Keaton at home to work on the movie's jokes. "It was really fun because we were essentially creating a character," he said. Indeed, from Beetlejuice's introductory monologue to his sinister proclamations, it's hard to tell where the script ends and Keaton's improv begins. The fictional town of Winter River, Connecticut was actually shot in East Corinth, Vermont, where production constructed the covered bridge where the couple died, as well as the 3.5-sided shell of their infamous house on the hill. The rest of the film was shot at Culver Studios in Los Angeles, known for its eclectic mix of practical effects, stop-motion animation, and in-camera trickery. The now iconic visual style of Beetlejuice was born from a combination of budget constraints and sheer passion. The VFX creature design and makeup team included artists like V. Neal, Steve Laporte, and Robert Short, who bagged the Oscar for Best Makeup in 1989. Their work in the movie included Burton's future collaborator in Batman Returns, Bo Welch, the production designer who developed the whimsically garish vision of their home. In the end, the film ended up costing an estimated $15 million, which it earned back shortly after debuting on March 30th, 1988. It's showtime. During its first 5 days in cinemas, Beetlejuice grossed $10.4 million, and by the end of the next month, it reached $41 million at the box office. Beetlejuice eventually grossed $75 million against a $15 million budget, making it Tim Burton's most successful movie at the time. Apart from the Oscar for Best Makeup, the movie also garnered 3 Saturn Awards. In December, 9 months after the movie premiered, Warner Brothers announced the making of a Beetlejuice cartoon for ABC TV. Happy anniversary, Beetlejuice! Tim Burton acted as the executive producer for the Beetlejuice cartoon, with Stephen Ouimet taking over the voice of the mischievous bioexorcist. While Beetlejuice terrorized Lydia Deetz and their best friends in the TV show, which ran for 4 seasons and 94 episodes from September 9, 1989, until December 6, 1991, the game Beetlejuice. Horrific hijinks from the Netherworld launched for the Game Boy in 1992. For the generation that remembers DOS, there was also Adventures of Beetlejuice, Skeletons in the Closet. These games were only loosely inspired by the film and combined movie elements with stuff from the cartoons. It was also around this time that the sequel started being developed. Beetlejuice. Don't ever say that name. Eager to capitalize on the film's success, the Geffen Company commissioned 2 sequel scripts. The first, Beetlejuice in Love, was written by the first film script doctor, Warren Scarron. It was about a man who proposes to his girlfriend on the Eiffel Tower, only to fall to his death and for Beetlejuice to haunt his almost fiancée. However, it was the second script that nearly clawed its way out of development hell. Written by Jonathan Gems, the now infamous canceled sequel Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian saw the Dietz family moving to Hawaii, where they planned to construct a new resort until discovering that the site is right above an ancient burial ground. Shortly after, Beetlejuice arrives to cause mayhem and even wins a surf contest using his old magic tricks, on the condition that the sequel would still be directed by Tim Burton. Both Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton were ready to reprise their roles for Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, but Batman Returns eventually made Keaton and Burton too busy for a Beetlejuice sequel. The idea was scrapped until 1996, when Billy Frolic was hired to write another sequel script. Though it went as far as getting Keaton back in negotiations, this attempt didn't materialize either. For decades, hopes of a sequel getting made remained trapped in various unrealized screenplays. In lieu of the long-awaited follow-up to the original film, Beetlejuice, the musical debuted in 2018, began its Broadway run a year later, and even reopened after closing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The stage play later went on a U.S. tour in 2022. It was also around this time that the sequel began to rear its lovably ugly head yet again. Fix it this time. Warner Brothers worked with Brad Pitt's studio, Plan B Entertainment, to bring the sequel to fruition. While initially denying involvement, Tim Burton eventually worked with screenwriters Alfred Goh and Miles Mailer to develop Beetlejuice 2. With Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara having signed on to reprise their roles, the Beetlejuice sequel finally climbed out of development hell after 3 full decades, picking up where the original movie left off. Beetlejuice 2 reunites the Dietz family with the ghost with the most while simultaneously catching audiences up on what the family has been up to during the last 30 years. Most notably, the sequel finally furnished Beetlejuice with a backstory, revealing that he's over 6 centuries old and was killed during the bubonic plague pandemic by his ex-wife, Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci. After just a week in theaters, Beetlejuice 2 has passed $162 million at the box office against a budget of $100 million, and current projections indicate that the sequel is all set to make box office history, just like the original movie. While the long-awaited sequel has lived up to the hype, it's currently too early to tell whether or when Beetlejuice 3 will be made. In the age of legacy sequels, it wouldn't be surprising if another Beetlejuice movie gets the green light. But while studio executives are again eager to capitalize on the sequel's success, Tim Burton himself doesn't seem too keen on the idea of directing another one. For now, the future of the franchise seems to be in limbo. But with the legacy sequel being a bona fide success a full 36 years after the original movie came out, do you think the franchise should continue to make more films? Thank you for watching.